dispatch and retrieval of election material. The duties of returning officers regarding election material includes bulk breaking, dispatch and return of election material. This process involves the following stages. Returning officers should receive in bulk the election material from district returning officers and prepare polling bags according to the requirement of each polling station. Prepare packing invoice Form 36 for every polling station. Prepare separate polling bags for every polling station. Before sealing the election bags, perform a final check to make sure that nothing has been left out and the material belongs to that relevant bag. As per your communication plan, communicate to the presiding officers the date, venue and details of collection of election material. Ensure the handing over of election bags to the presiding officers in a well-coordinated and effective way. Make sure that the presiding officers sign the packing invoice and keep a copy of the same. Ensure setting up of separate counters to distribute material and funds for male and female presiding officers. Also set up separate counters for male and female presiding officers for distribution of voting screens and ballot boxes. Green lid ballot boxes will be distributed for National Assembly and white lid boxes for Provincial Assembly. Preparation of polling bags. Before the packing of election material, the ROs will establish 10 packing points. Staff deputed at different counters should be thoroughly briefed about their responsibilities, and returning officers should directly supervise the preparation of polling bags. Staff at packing point number 1 will enter required information from serial number 1 to 4 on the packing invoice Form 36. Write the name and number of the polling station on the green large bag for National Assembly. Hand over the bag and the invoice to the staff at packing point 2. Staff at packing point number 2 will put official code marks in the bags according to the scale. Enter their count and code mark numbers in serial number 6A and 6B of the packing invoice. Hand over the bag and the invoice to the staff at packing point 3. Staff at packing point number 3 will put rubber stamps used on ballot papers for voting in the bags as per scale, that is 3 per polling booth and additional 1 per polling station. Enter the count of the stamps in serial number 7 of the packing invoice. Hand over the bag and the invoice to the staff at packing point number 4. Staff at packing point number 4 will enter 1 brass seal per polling station in the bag and note it in serial number 8 of the packing invoice. Put 1 standard stationery pack per polling station in the bag and make its entry in serial number 12. Place 1 empty blue bag after writing name of polling station and number on it in the green bag for the return of unused election material. Hand over the bag and the invoice to the staff at packing point 5. Staff at packing point number 5 will put indelible ink vials in the bag, that is 1 per polling station and additional 2 per polling station. This means for 4 polling booths, 4 plus 2, that is 6 vials of indelible ink are to be placed in the bag. Enter the count of indelible ink vials in the packing invoice. Hand over the bag and the invoice to staff at packing point number 6. The staff at packing point number 6 for the sealing of ballot boxes will place 5 plastic seals per ballot box plus some extra seals in the bag. Record in serial number 10 the number of plastic seals placed in the bag. Hand over the bag and the invoice to staff at packing point number 7. The staff at packing point number 7 will put standardized stamp pad in the bag, that is 2 per polling station and additional 1 per polling station. Enter in serial number 11 of the packing invoice the number of stamp pads placed in the bag. Hand over the bag and the invoice to staff at packing point number 8. Staff at packing point number 8 will put in the bag all envelopes and tamper-evident bags. Hand over the bag and the invoice to staff at packing point number 9. The staff at packing point number 9 will put in the bag all forms, posters, badges, placemats and placards, etc. Then hand over the bag and the invoice to staff at packing point number 10. Staff at packing point number 10 will put in the bag the relevant polling station's voter lists carrying voters' photographs. and check all required material has been placed in the bag, after which they will fasten the bag and put it aside. After the receipt of ballot papers, the ROs a few days before the polling day will put ballot papers in the provided small bags, green for National Assembly and white for provincial, in accordance with the number of voters allocated to the polling station, and pack them. They will write the name and number of the constituency and details of polling station on these small bags and seal them securely. They will enter the number of ballot papers and their serial numbers in serial number 5 of the packing invoice. Put the sealed small bag and the packing invoice in the large bag and seal it securely. In addition to the prescribed procedures for bulk breaking and packing of goods, the returning officers, keeping in mind their convenience and administrative needs, can also complete the process of preparing the polling bags according to the scale formulated by the Election Commission. As per the instructions given by the ECP, the polling bags of the respective polling stations will be prepared by the returning officer for National Assembly, while the returning officer for the Provincial Assembly will put voter list and ballot papers in the polling bags of respective polling stations and pack them. Setting up dispatch centers for dispatch of election material. After packing the election material, the returning officers will establish dispatch centers for distribution and dispatch of election material. Every dispatch center should have appropriate number of counters for the handing over of election material to the presiding officers. Some of the things to follow are: polling station number should be clearly displayed on every counter. Every counter should have a dedicated number such as counter number 1, counter number 2, etc. Separate counters should be established for male and female presiding officers. Returning and assistant returning officers should directly oversee the entire process. Collection of material after election. The ROs should establish special counters to amicably perform the task of receiving election material from the presiding officers. Separate counters should also be established for the collection of election results from male and female presiding officers. Form 45 and Form 46 in tamper-evident bag 1 should be thoroughly checked and received. In case of any mistake in the forms, get them corrected and signed by concerned presiding officer.